Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out on November 13th, 2012. It went on to become one of the most popular and renowned Call of Duty games to date. However, the Zombies mode launched with, let's say, a mixed reception. The only launch map was a map called Transit. I can't even tell you it was a huge shift in direction because it really wasn't. We were seeing the direct effects of what happened in the last game. It was more of an evolution. Granted, that evolution had a very rocky start, but it eventually flourished into Mob of the Dead and Origins, which were the building blocks for Black Ops 3 Zombies. Unfortunately, I feel like that's a lot more to be said than anything regarding current or even recent past titles, but alas, that's not what this video is about. Like I said, Black Ops 2 Zombies had a very rough start. Transit was wrought with problems. Poorly implemented mechanics, annoying enemies, a lackluster main quest, the list can go on. Not to mention all the signs of them having to cut back on their more ambitious plans.
New route learned. Cross-referencing mapping software. Automatic route guidance still in effect.
Regardless of what you think or thought about Transit, it still had standards to uphold elsewhere. I rarely see anyone else mention or acknowledge this, and that's what I wanted to show you in this video. The environmental storytelling, world building, the style and aesthetic of the map, the feelings it instills in you. Even though this map has never played well, the aesthetics and visuals never cease to keep me curious, fascinated, interested in what was going on. This video was inspired by the Exceptional Gamers video on the horrors of Black Ops 2 and also his Black Ops 2 Iceberg. If you haven't seen those videos yet, I can't urge you enough to go watch them. I'll leave a link in the description for all that, along with his channel. Be sure to go check him out if you haven't already. Before we dive deep into Transit, let's go over how we got here. Let's start with Ultimus. Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey, and Richtofen were the original cast introduced in World at War on the map Shinonuma. This group of characters goes on to live out their story through an overrun secret Nazi facility, an abandoned Nazi theater, a Russian cosmodrome, and mysterious ancient ruins. From time traveling to the future to getting stuck in places they wouldn't expect.
That's not a lever, Richtofen!
Richtofen keeps asking more and more from the rest of the group, yet their final destination would be one that no one would suspect: the moon. With another time jump into the future, to 2025, here all the pieces would come together to form Richtofen's grand scheme. One thing leads to another, and before you know it, rockets are set off and fly towards the Earth. Flash forward to 10 years later, now on Earth, we are introduced to a new cast of characters. Ones that don't have access to all of this time-traveling technology and have been stuck on Earth for all the time it's been ravaged by that fateful decision made on the moon. Marlton, an arrogant, narcissistic nerd, Misty, a rugged farm girl, Samuel Stuhlinger, an estranged, radical conspiracy theorist, and Russman, a former important asset to the Broken Arrow program, now a crazed hobo. These characters make up the new Victus crew, which are the player's new vessels to continue this crazy story. Before you even spawn into the map, the loading screens already tell you so much. We see vintage postcards on a dirty, tiled floor covered in blood next to spent cases, damaged, discarded. The iconic font invites you on a warm adventure, contrasting the environment around you. It creates this anxious, uneasy atmosphere. You know something's off, different than what we're used to at this point. Even the music during the loading screens reflects this. A classic jingle plays over an old radio as it distorts to static, making the surroundings audible. You hear these faint, unnerving screeches and screams in the distance until the song finally fades away. Straight into the thick of it, the player spawns in a bus station, surrounded by the undead. Immediately, we can see the effects those rockets had on the Earth. We see fire and lava oozing from the cracks in the ground. A dense smog has settled all over the place. Once you start to find your bearings, salvaging to stay alive, you realize that this place doesn't look like your average bus station. I mean, the average bus station from 2025, 10 years ago, when the rockets hit. This looks more like a vintage, 1950s small town that's been frozen in time, abandoned. But is it? Listen, I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to the zombie storyline, especially from this time period, so if you are, this will come as no shock to you now. But if you were an intrigued player who paid attention to the environment around you and all the context clues, you may be able to deduce that there's more going on here than the eyes can see. Things don't appear to be what they seem in this old, rundown town. The player might be completely distracted by the onslaught of zombies to see what might have really been going on here. We start with weapons that are somewhat indicative of the time frame this place appears to come from, the 1950s, but soon enough we are using modern, sometimes even cutting-edge weaponry, weapons that would not be found in an abandoned town like this. Zombies can be seen wearing hospital gowns and straitjackets. What are they doing here? We don't see a hospital or an asylum anywhere. Others are seen wearing sleek, futuristic clothing or orange coveralls with distinct patches on them that say Hanford Sanatorium. Like I said, we don't see an asylum or a sanatorium, so what are these guys doing here? We don't see any bus station attendants, diner hostesses, no gas station employees, no mechanics, no farmers' hands, no regular citizens that might be roaming the town. We see zombies in medical gowns and straitjackets, or we see them in futuristic clothing, not representative of the people that may have lived here. If you look closely, you can find collars around the necks of the zombies, the yellow hazard symbol on the back. Yet these are absent on the zombies wearing hospital gowns and straitjackets. Everything doesn't add up. Everything seems so strange when you take time to think about it. It's hard to come up with anything logical. When you venture out into the heavy fog, it becomes claustrophobic. You hear the scurrying of a little varmint or pest, a creature that will eventually emerge from the fog to pounce on you, jump on you, latch onto your head, and tear your eyes out. If you even catch a glimpse of this creature, you can be assured a close encounter will soon follow. But what is it? Its proportions are off, unnatural. There isn't much time to think about it because you're too busy trying to escape the fog alive. Eventually you will find yourself at what appears to be a destroyed factory building or a power plant of some sort. You open a door to an outhouse of all things and fall into what looks like a hidden, secret laboratory. The blinding white color and chrome lining of the sleek walls contrasts the outside with its colors devoid of all light. The extremely sudden change of scenery makes you ask questions. What is this doing here? What is the purpose of this place? What is this place used for? On the surface, this town seems somewhat ordinary, yet you see through all these little tiny cracks that things aren't what they seem, things that were here that clearly didn't belong. And when you find this lab that is completely out of place, it blows the lid off of this whole thing. It starts to make more sense believing this town isn't real, that no one ever lived here or worked here, that this town never flourished or bustled with life and community. With all of these context clues adding up, one may come to the possible conclusion that this whole place is one big facade, a testing facility, like an old doom town, made to be as real and as accurate as possible. For what reason? I don't know. I know that clearly the testing here has come to an end. Perhaps what was contained at this facility or what they were testing here could have caused the outbreak at this location after the rockets struck the Earth. This would all be a shocking revelation to the player, seeming to have stumbled across this place, that lab, Transit itself, but there's still more than what meets the eye to be discovered. The zombies with the stylish clothing and collars, could they be site employees? They probably worked for whatever entity owned this facility. As for the Hanford Sanatorium, perhaps that was a cover-up or a code name. Perhaps this place was called the Hanford Sanatorium as to not let on what was truly happening here. Furthermore, what did these employees do? Remember, it's 2035, and it was 2025 when the rockets hit. This can explain the clothing, the lab, the technology, and the weapons. Speaking of that, where are the scientists or the lab personnel? Did they all escape before it went wrong? Did they know something that the others didn't? Where would they escape to? Are there other facilities like this across the US? Maybe the globe? And what are these collars for? I'd assume they'd be some form of shock collar, but then why aren't they on the other zombies? And why would you have those on your employees anyway? They aren't used as some form of zombie control either, because as I said, they aren't found on the zombies wearing gowns and straitjackets. It doesn't seem to make any sense. Could they be security devices? Maybe for monitoring the vitals and locations of all employees. Maybe they're used as some form of ID or security clearance. It's just strange to see them around the necks of what look to be relatively normal people. I can imagine these people walking around the test site when it used to be a test site and not an undead hellscape, when it used to be a lot cleaner. I can imagine them using Jeeps or Humvees, taking the roads to travel between the different components. But still, why are there zombies that look like hospital patients? Well, maybe they were the test subjects. That would only make sense. It could be possible that there were multiple types of experiments going on here. Hospital gowns for the newly inducted or more routine testing, and straitjackets for the brutal, more extreme testing. The unwillingness of the patients would cause them to writhe and squirm. But we don't know for sure where this testing could have taken place. The obvious answer would be the lab, but there's so much that we haven't seen. There are all the corridors that are blocked off, rooms that we don't have access to. In the power room, we find a bunch of monitors. They could have been used to watch over the multiple locations found around the map, or they could have been used to watch the test subjects in the lab. In this power room, where we do, in fact, turn on the power, we watch this being unleash after we turn it on. A creature that exists outside of human comprehension, an electrical beast in the shape of the human nervous system. It appears conscious, aware, like it has feelings, intent. This was most likely one of the experiments being conducted here. It looks angry, probably because of what was done to it. So was this the desired result? Is this what was meant to be created, or is it the aftermath of a catastrophic failure? Was it designed to be a weapon? What is it doing at this specific testing facility, out of all places? Like I had mentioned earlier, there are hallways we don't have access to, and probably different levels to the lab that we've never seen. There's another location that looks very similar to this, under the bank in the town center where Pack-a-Punch is. Through the barricades we see rooms. Maybe this place is connected to the power station. Maybe under the entire site is a sprawling complex of underground labs. The experiments regarding the test subjects, the zombies in patient attire, could very well have taken place in these rooms. What else we notice is a bunch of small cages everywhere. Could these be for rats or rabbits? What else do we see that size? The denizens in the fog. Maybe they were the result of experiments here. Maybe this is where they escaped from, out onto the surface, along with the other test subjects. One more thing, in order to open the door to get to Pack-a-Punch, you have to bring a source of power to this door, located at the labs at the power station. Why is this door here? What's behind this door? How does it connect to the bank? If you dare to venture farther out into the fog, you may stumble upon a cabin. It looks so out of place compared to the rest of the town. Once you step foot inside, you can immediately tell this place is clearly different. Unlike any other place on the map, this place looks lived in. This is the only place on the map where we can find a mattress frame. What makes this even more bizarre are the numerous skulls everywhere. I'm talking in abundance. No other bones of any sort, just skulls. Human skulls, and skulls that don't appear to be. There are skulls even in the fireplace still burning. When was this fire started? But seriously, what is this place doing here? This might be the weirdest one yet. What if, in the 10 years since the rockets hit, one person stumbled upon this place and decided to take refuge here, enough to build a cabin? Maybe this place was abandoned before then. Maybe the cabin was built before the outbreak. This may sound a bit far-fetched, but the other theory I have is maybe this cabin belongs to an on-site employee, a person so sick and infatuated with their work here that they decided to make a secret cabin on facility grounds, hidden in the forest, out of sight of the roads. Maybe that's the person who collected all of these skulls. Maybe they belong to test subjects, like disgusting souvenirs. This, however, isn't the only structure that you will find out in the fog. Past the farm, you find a cornfield. This makes sense, it's next to a farm, but considering the circumstances, there is no chance this corn is real. After all, it's still in rows after not being tended to for 10 years, after the earth literally split apart. If this is a doom town and is a fake town, it would make sense to have fake plants as well. Anyways, if you set forth into the cornfield, you'll find yourself staring at Nacht der Untoten. Out of everything on this map, what is this doing here? Our new crew has no idea of this building's significance, but we, the player, do. However, we also know that this building is supposed to be in Europe, so how is it here? Like I mentioned before, the entire facility could be used for testing various things. Maybe they knew what happened at Nacht, and maybe they wanted to perfectly recreate it for whatever reason. What offers credence to this theory is that this place doesn't look exactly like Nacht. The help door doesn't have its iconic markings, barriers are missing sandbags, etc. Not to mention it's been laid to waste. not only by the rockets in the 10 years since then, but also no doubt due to the outbreak itself. Granted, maybe that's what caused all this damage. Maybe it somehow really is the real Nocturne Totem, and all that time faded the paint on the door, for instance. But I'm still adamant that this place has to be a recreation. It makes more sense to me that the Americans would try to replicate Noct for its mysterious properties, rather than have it travel here via some portal or rift in time. Going back to the farm, here we discover what might be the most perplexing mystery of this map. Wandering around the farm, you may not have noticed because it's so ordinary, but there are indeed silos here. One is a regular farm silo, and not too far from it we find a different type of silo. This one looks more industrial, not meant to just store grain. It looks like it's supposed to hold chemicals of some sort. Not that farms don't need chemicals, but then explain why there's Russian text plastered over the whole thing. What do the Russians have to do with this? What's even inside this container? Why is it specifically at the farm? I guess it could be used to test against plants, but like I said earlier, the corn is more than likely fake. I'm willing to bet it's meant for more sinister purposes. Maybe whatever entity owns this facility made some deal or orchestrated a joint operation between the Russians or some Russian corporation. It again begs the question, how widespread are testing facilities like this? Returning to the bus depot, let's talk about something, or rather someone you've probably already become acquainted with.
Welcome aboard. Please have a seat. Thank you for choosing Consolidated Coach Corporation Bus Lines.
His name is Ted, and he clearly isn't someone you'd expect to be driving a bus. As is the theme with this place, this could be another experiment. Artificial intelligence maybe? Or maybe this was outdated technology by the year 2025. Regardless, some of his voice lines are extremely interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now arriving at the Fast Flux Test Facility. Now approaching tunnel entrance for Dulce Base. These beautiful green rolling grass covered hills are home to thousands of head of dairy cattle. Please gather all top secret files and disembark for Deep Springs Gravitational Anomaly. Attention passengers, please activate clean suits and disembark for Mount Weather. Tehachapi Ranch just ahead. Please gather your biohazard suits if Tehachapi Ranch is your stop. Now arriving Groom Lake. Last call for Groom Lake. Welcome aboard. Please secure all personal belongings and take your seat. Now departing for the HARP Research Station. Town Center stop. Get off now for shopping, movies, dining, gaming, thriller, fire.
He's clearly severely damaged, but you can still see remnants of what he used to be. Melted, fake skin peels off of his metallic face, revealing uncanny, worn robotic facial features, his eyes a lit blue. Could this be the same figure we see depicted on the postcard? Either way, he's who we're stuck with, unless you want to make that unpleasant trek out into the fog. As we've come to find out, this is a very strange place. No matter what you think about it, no matter what you think it is, things just do not add up. As I alluded to in the beginning, there's clearly something going on here that we were never supposed to know about. But now, after an unfortunate sequence of events, this place seems to be open to the public. However, there doesn't seem to be a public around to see it. Or is there? We never see other survivors, but we are able to hear them and possibly see the signs of them once being here. First, in the farmhouse, we're able to hear radio transmissions through the TV. A survivor seems to be located at a place called Jackass Flats and details a horrific story of their camp being split up by ideology.
Hello. This is Jackass Flats, calling any human community within broadcasting distance. We're located at standard map coordinates 37 degrees, 07 north, 116 degrees, 03 west. This is a warning to anyone contacted by a group of mysterious voices. Several of our party began to hear the voices, and their competing instructions and incompatible demands drove a wedge down the center of the camp. Half of the camp is carrying out the demands of only through electronics. This voice is a big, long, and its ultimate goals unclear. The other voice cannot be heard by humans who have not been on the law. Madness this way lies. Neither of these instruction sets will understand. Those of us who have not chosen a side have been hunted by both sides, seeking to force us to assist them. Oh God, they found us! Oh! Get back!
Voices inside of their heads form them into cults. Those who don't wish to participate in their repelling actions become enemies of both sides and must pay in blood. It leaves what once appeared to be a consolidated camp in chaos, and those caught in the middle of it hiding from them all. It sounds like some of these crazed camp members have been transmitting on the radio themselves. One is clearly intoxicated and is probably broken down after everything that's happened.
You think you're so smart, huh? You think you can manipulate everybody into doing what you want, but we know the truth. Are you calculating works and you snitch their agents? You mean to destroy this plan and then kill us all? We're not gonna help. No way, no how. So yeah, you keep talking. But no one's gonna hear you because we're destroying everything. Everything electronic, starting with this evil radio box thing.
Another is heard to be giving in to the voices, seemingly talking to himself over the radio, or rather, the voice in his head.
What's that? Who's there? Yes, I can hear you. Of course I have. There's nothing else. No, I won't do that. How do I know you're not lying? You could be making all that up, huh? Well, sure, that only makes sense. Dude. You're lying. But, no, I see. Sure. Really? But they're my friends. Yes. Of course I see now. I'll do it. I'll do it for you. For you and the flesh.
Some of these transmissions seem to end in the same ugly demise.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? We have activated the spire as you instructed, but the shamblers are swarming our location, and we can't hold out against their superior numbers for long without aid. Hello? Please, come in. It is vital that you instruct us on that...
Another hellish detail is if you listen very carefully while roaming around the town, you can make out faint screams in the distance. These aren't the screams of some paranormal spirit like in Verrucht. These are the screams of a real person out there in the wilderness, meeting their demise. Who is it that screamed? Are they at all connected to any of the radio broadcasts? It makes my skin crawl because this is the only time in the history of zombies where we catch a glimpse of any sort at a survivor while we are present, living in the aftermath. It feels like they're just out of reach, in the woods where we can't get to, in the forest where we don't dare venture. It makes you feel trapped and isolated on a whole new level, like there's truly no escape. I can't help but wonder what happened to these people, what caused them to erupt in fear before being cut off completely. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't, but we don't seem to know anything. We know as much going on here as what's going on out there. Both are terrifying. What about those who could have been here? Remember when I said in the cabin is where you can find the only mattress frame? Well, in the same farmhouse the TV is located in, upstairs we find 2 mattresses strewn about the floor, almost as if this is where a few people held out for the night. Maybe that's why the lights are still on. Perhaps they left in a hurry. A sobering detail, if we look at the walls, we can see the dirty outlines of picture frames once hung there. They were probably torn down to spare, reminding them of what once was. What's more is that we don't see that detail anywhere else on the map. In fact, I can't find any other place on the map other than the cabin where someone may have held out or visited after the fact. Maybe the other locations were too risky, or the farmhouse was the only place that seemed safe. It could also be because this place wasn't very well known. Not a lot of people stumbled upon it. Secret labs, zombies, denizens, the Avogadro, Ted, Nocturne Toten, that Russian silo. What was going on here? Was there a cover-up? What about the strange cabin in the forest, the mysterious survivors, or the screams out in the fog? As I iterated before, this is a strange place. It becomes more obvious now. We see far too many unordinary things to write it off as simply strange, a coincidence. There must be something intentional here. There are even fallout shelters found around the map, next to the bus depot, hidden in the tunnel. If something were to go wrong, maybe this is where everyone working here was supposed to go. So many factors add up to the possible explanation that this place was a giant testing facility of some sort. With the entire planet being scorched, no sign of any survivors left, you can't help but feel desperation in the air, like you truly may be the only ones left on Earth alive. You feel alone. It's so horrifying to see the spaces that appeared to once harbor life and a social community left in ruins. It feels liminal in a way, like a nightmare. When you look at the surroundings and imagine yourself here, in this scenario that our crew has found themselves in, it's easy to imagine yourself feeling despair, panicked. It's hidden under the excitement of surviving, but when you take a moment to let it sink in, it feels real. That's what I think about when I think about Transit, from when I first played it. I had no idea of the official storyline interpretation or eventual retcons. My intrigue was formed immediately from simply playing the map, exploring, trying to make sense of the environment around me and the situation I'm in. I know much of what I've said probably didn't come as a surprise to many hardcore classic zombies fans, but if I did, let me know. Most people know from playing Alpha Omega that Transit is the Hanford testing site, but I couldn't really find people figuring that out beforehand, back in 2012. It's so fascinating exploring the signs that were there, when that's all we had to go off of. I realize this all isn't any crazy revelation nowadays, but I still don't see people thinking about it, let alone talking about it nearly as much. I also know that some of this, maybe a lot, is pure speculation on my part. Not official, not canon, not only because some of it is just theory, but also because some things have also been disproven or retconned. That's what I really wanted to emphasize. There was once great wonder, interest, and mysterious intrigue. We were left with questions intentionally left unanswered, but so playfully open-ended. The environmental storytelling made it feel like it actually happened. The way the map made you feel felt real. All the questions I posed throughout this entire video could easily be organically asked by an intrigued player. The conclusion I came to could certainly be found by someone else without any outside influence. The game doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't explicitly tell you what's going on. That's up to you, the player, to find out and rationalize. And you do that through the characters. You are experiencing this map for the first time as well as they are. We don't go in knowing everything there is to know. We go in barely even knowing the basics, leaving everything to be discovered and explored by you, as if you were a part of the cast. You're treated as intelligent, able to figure things out on your own. And that's the one thing that I think they truly succeeded in with this map. It definitely doesn't compare to other maps as far as gameplay goes, but it fulfills and even exceeds some other maps in the realm of world building and environmental storytelling, in capturing such believable and addictingly terrible feelings. This map gives you so many things to think about, and when you put it all together, it's this perfectly unsolved mystery that keeps you hooked, on the edge of your seat, indefinitely. There are things I didn't even talk about as well, like, who is JD? Why are those initials scrawled into Ted? There's a meteor that struck the bus station. What about the train cars next to the power? I didn't even talk about the jet gun. Was it involved in the experiments going on here, or did our cast truly just cobble it together? And there's probably a lot that I either missed or forgot about. I just wanted to illustrate how perfect of an atmosphere Transit has, how formidable it truly is, at least to me. I can only imagine how much brighter that would have shined if this map played better. There are these images of Transit that have stuck with me for a while. The rays of moonlight illuminating the dirty, cracked tiles of the bus station floor. The neon lights of the highway diner sign cling desperately to life as their glow splashes upon the metallic roof. The lava floods the fog with a red, hellish hue as you can see from the dark, bleak interior of the diner. The sun, hidden behind a veil of fog, crests the top of the church that looks over the barren town, vacant and destroyed. Yet signs of civilization hang on tight to survival. These desolate sights of all these empty rooms, cluttered and in ruins, live in my head. They'll keep me fascinated for eternity.